You're tuned into the Robert Judat podcast. Style, clarity, and elevated thinking delivered with precision. Stay curious.
Imagine you're sitting at this incredibly exclusive private dinner party.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right. And across the table from you is a billionaire. But the thing is, you would never know it just by looking at him.
Because he's not flashing it.
Exactly. He's wearing these 20-year-old leather shoes that have clearly been polished every single morning.
Yep.
He has on a simple, well-tailored navy blazer, and there is absolutely not a single logo in sight.
Classic.
But meanwhile, the guy sitting next to him, who maybe just made his first million in, crypto or software, is practically dripping in designer labels.
Oh yeah, the heavy gold chain.
Yes. The gold chain, a belt buckle you could probably see from space, and a watch that just catches the light every time he breathes.
The contrast is always so stark.
It really is. And it begs the question, why does the person with 100 times more money look like they spent 100 times less?
That is the million-dollar question, or the billion-dollar question.
Right. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to decode the secret language of wealth. We're going to figure out exactly how it's signaled, how it's hidden, and the really surprising psychological and societal forces operating right beneath the surface of all this.
And it goes deep.
It really does. And we aren't just guessing here. I've been digging through this fascinating stack of sources for you. We've got an audio essay diving into the psychology of status, some incredibly revealing reputation management reports, focusing on what the ultra-wealthy are actually paying PR firms to do, and a thought-provoking academic paper looking at how Gen Z is interpreting all of this over on TikTok.
It's quite the mix.
It is. And joining us as the perfect guide to synthesize these completely different fields is our resident expert. By the time we finish this deep dive, you are going to view your own wardrobe, your social media habits, and the entire concept of status in a completely different light.
It is fantastic to be here. I mean, this is such a layered topic because we are watching economics, human psychology, and digital culture all just collide in real time.
Yeah.
And that image you painted of the dinner party, the quiet billionaire versus the loud millionaire, it perfectly captures a dynamic that isn't actually new.
Right. This goes way back.
It's been playing out for centuries. So to really understand the mechanics of how wealth operates today, we have to rewind and look at how this behavior started.
That history piece is wild to me because this didn't just start with modern tech bros trying to outshine each other.
No, not at all.
Centuries ago, in Europe, the aristocracy, and these were the families who literally owned countries and armies, they ran into a really highly specific problem. Global trade exploded, and suddenly merchants and traders were starting to accumulate massive amounts of gold.
The new money of the era.
Exactly. For the first time, common people were wearing silk, they were buying jewels, and they were actively trying to look like royalty. But the nobility didn't just pile on more jewels to outdress them, which is honestly what you might expect them to do.
Right, they did the exact opposite. They pivoted entirely. The aristocracy adopted this unspoken rule of understated, subtle refinement. The core philosophy became the people who truly possess power do not need to perform it.
Wow.
And it is crucial to realize that this wasn't just some passing fashion trend. It was a psychological defense mechanism, basically designed to separate the quote-unquote deserving elite from the newcomers.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, because when someone earns wealth very quickly, with what society classically calls new money, they often experience a psychological phenomenon known as status anxiety.
Status anxiety. Meaning, they have the money, but they are terrified no one else knows they have it.
Precisely that. It's the persistent fear that your success isn't recognized by the social hierarchy. So how do you fix that anxiety?
You buy loud, flashy things.
Exactly. The giant designer logos, the neon sports cars, the heavy gold chains. And it's easy to just dismiss this as pure arrogance, but psychologically, it is often rooted in deep insecurity. They are trying to reassure themselves, and really everyone around them, that their success is tangible, it's real, and it isn't going to just vanish tomorrow.
But the old money families, the generational billionaires, they never experienced that specific anxiety.
Never. Because for generational wealth, the money isn't a mountain they just climbed. It's a condition of their birth.
Like having blue eyes.
Exactly. Showing off their wealth to prove they belong would be like bragging that they have 2 arms and 2 legs. It never occurs to them to prove it because it was never in question. Their internal confidence does not require validation from a random stranger walking down the street. In their world, there is a French phrase, that captures this perfectly. It roughly translates to the elegance of those who no longer have anything to prove.
Okay, let's unpack this, because there's a brilliantly specific analogy from the audio essay we're pulling from that completely nails the psychology here.
Oh, the stethoscope one.
Yes, the essay points out that wearing a giant gold chain or a loud logo just to prove you have money is like a surgeon wearing a stethoscope to a dinner party just to remind everyone he's a doctor.
Right. You'd think he was crazy.
You would. It doesn't make you look successful. It signals deep insecurity. It tells everyone in the room that the attention you get for the achievement means more to you than the achievement itself.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to understand that this is not about the ultra-wealthy being inherently humble, modest, or down-to-earth people.
Definitely not.
No. This is about a deeply ingrained psychological and social principle within that specific class. To them, actively seeking validation from strangers is seen as deeply embarrassing.
It's cringe.
It is a massive faux pas. That's why the actor Cary Grant famously said, "Elegance is refusal." The old money style is built entirely on what you choose not to do.
The restraint itself is the statement.
Exactly. When you grow up with a vintage watch that your grandfather wore for 40 years, objects aren't status symbols anymore. They are family history. A heavy gold chain bought yesterday has no history attached to it. It's just metal purchased to scream for attention.
So we have this centuries-old philosophy of restraint where elegance is refusal. But what is really blowing my mind is how this has evolved in our modern era.
Oh, it's gone to a whole new level.
It really has. We've gone from simply hiding the logos on our clothing to something much more extreme. Think about your own digital life for a second. We live in an era where everyone is desperate for visibility, but for the modern ultra-wealthy, the ultimate status symbol is erasing your digital footprint entirely.
Becoming a ghost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's look at the corporate side of things first. I was reading up on the luxury brand Bottega Veneta. In a time where brands are literally paying millions to chase algorithms and, go viral, in early 2021, Bottega just deleted its Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook accounts.
They just vanished.
Vanished completely.
And that move completely broke the traditional rules of modern marketing. But the data shows how brilliantly it worked.
Wait, really?
Yeah. By Q4 of 2024, Bottega surged to 6th place on the list index of the hottest global brands, leaping over incredibly flashy, highly visible names like Gucci and Versace.
That's insane.
Yeah, right. Even while their parent company, Kering, reported a 14% revenue decline across the board earlier this year, Bottega Veneta defied that trend completely. Their sales actually rose 19% in North America and 17% in Western Europe.
Okay, but how did disappearing actually make them more money?
What Bottega proved is a fundamental economic principle. Scarcity, not saturation, is the true currency of desirability.
Scarcity.
Yes. By leaving social media, they didn't kill the conversation. They created a vacuum. And human nature abhors a vacuum. Their fans rushed in to fill it.
Oh, like the fan pages?
Exactly. Unofficial, fan-run accounts, like that massive @NewBottega page, they stepped up and basically became organic PR machines, racking up millions of impressions for them. And Bottega is not the only one utilizing this mechanism.
Really?
Who else?
Well, we've seen Celine delete all previous Instagram posts to create a blank slate. Saint Laurent has cleared its feed multiple times. Balenciaga wiped its Instagram and went totally dark for months before returning with highly restricted, curated content.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to push back a little on this strategy.
Sure, go ahead.
We constantly see brands, influencers, and even politicians paying millions upon millions of dollars for visibility today. The entire modern economy seems built on the currency of attention. Isn't going completely dark a massive, almost reckless gamble for a business trying to survive?
What's fascinating here is that luxury, by its very definition, is strictly not democratic. It is exclusionary.
When everyone else is online screaming for attention, when algorithms dictate who sees what, and a single misstep can go viral in seconds, intentional silence becomes the ultimate flex.
You're untouchable.
Exactly. By stepping back, these brands regain absolute control over their pacing, their tone, and their narrative. They are essentially saying, we don't have to play the algorithm's game, you come to us.
Wow.
And this concept of digital erasure isn't just for luxury brands anymore. It has birthed what the reputation management sources call the invisible wealth club among individuals.
Yes, the billionaires who leave absolutely no trace. The reports mention people like Jack Ma of Alibaba, who practically disappeared from the public eye, or Zhang Shanshan, the Chinese bottled water tycoon.
The lone wolf.
Yeah, he's literally known as the lone wolf because he avoids the press entirely. They are paying experts to actively scrub their digital presence. And the reports highlight that this is heavily motivated by the mechanics of modern security and privacy.
It's a huge factor.
In a world of sophisticated cyber attacks, extortion, and identity theft, your personal data and your daily routines are just as valuable and vulnerable as your bank account.
It's a highly strategic choice. Plus, there's a massive cultural shift happening globally. Amid rising inflation and global inequality, flaunting wealth can trigger immense public backlash, or even regulatory scrutiny from governments.
People are angry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We see the mechanics of this backed up by data from Transmission Private. They're a firm that specializes in reputation management for the ultra-rich. Their survey data found that 25% of the general public view flaunting wealth online negatively.
25%, that's a lot.
It is. People don't see it as aspirational anymore. They perceive it as gaudy, out of touch, or deeply egotistical.
And the scary thing for these families is that the internet is forever. The days of yesterday's news being tomorrow's fish and chip paper are entirely over.
Long gone.
A single photo of a luxury family vacation on a yacht, posted by a teenager with innocent intentions, can get picked up by the media. And that flashy photo sits on the first page of a Google search for the rest of their lives.
Which causes tangible, long-term reputational damage. Think about the mechanics of modern business.
Correct.
Future investment partners, potential employees, or political associates often run a reactive search on your name before doing a deal. If the first thing they see is you spraying champagne on a fleet of supercars, it completely alters their perception of your seriousness, your discretion, and your judgment.
That makes total sense.
The advice currently being given to these ultra-high net worth families by PR firms is literal: audit your followers, lock all accounts to private, or delete your digital footprint entirely if you are the most high-profile member of the family.
So the actual billionaires are spending millions of dollars to become invisible. They are going completely silent. But what is so crazy about this is that if you open TikTok right now, you will see millions of regular middle-class teenagers spending their actual money to loudly pretend they are part of that invisible club.
Yes.
Which brings us to the massive and honestly kind of strange digital trend of #old money.
This is exactly where the intersection of psychology, wealth, and social media takes a very complex and, frankly, dark turn.
To navigate this part, we are looking at a paper published in the Athens Journal of Mass Media and Communications. Now, the researchers in this paper take a pretty hardline, controversial stance on this TikTok trend.
They definitely do.
And just to be clear, we aren't here to pick political sides or endorse their specific worldview, but their analysis of why teenagers are doing this and the psychology behind the trend is too fascinating to ignore. What exactly are the authors claiming is happening here?
Well, the author of the study argues that this TikTok trend is a dangerous aestheticization of neoliberalism and claims it has deep ties to right-wing extremist narratives.
Wow, okay. That's heavy.
It is. To break that down without the academic jargon, the researchers looked at this through a Marxist lens. This means they focused entirely on the hidden class struggles, the economic power dynamics, and the inequality behind these seemingly innocent TikTok videos. They're analyzing why middle-class kids are glorifying inherited wealth while actively degrading newly earned wealth.
And if you look at the videos, the ultimate pop culture reference for this trend on TikTok is F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby.
Oh, absolutely.
You see clips of the movies, the sweeping mansions, the linen suits everywhere in these videos. But the fascinating observation the paper makes is who the trend actually idolizes. The story of Jay Gatsby is the ultimate American dream. The self-made man who came from nothing, grew up poor, and built an empire, even if it was through shady means.
Right.
But the #old money trend does not relate to Jay Gatsby. It idolizes his antagonist, Tom Buchanan.
Right, and Tom Buchanan is the character who represents inherited privilege, generational old money, and highly exclusionary power. He didn't earn his place. He was born into it.
He's the ultimate gatekeeper.
Exactly. The researchers argue that by glorifying Buchanan's world, the TikTok trend embraces 4 dark pillars that uphold a discriminatory system. Let's walk through the mechanics of each one.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first pillar they identify is a fetish for bloodlines. The study highlights how users romanticize predetermined genetic factors over earned success. You see viral videos glorifying things like the quote-unquote Burberry family and explicitly praising people who have old money blood. The researcher points out that this echoes concepts of social Darwinism.
Social Darwinism, meaning like the idea that wealth is essentially a form of natural selection. It treats being rich as a condition of birth, like genetic superiority that cannot and should not be earned by outsiders.
Exactly. It frames the wealthy as biologically destined to rule, which connects directly to the second pillar. The paper identifies a glorification of whiteness and purity.
How does that show up on TikTok?
Well, the paper points out a very creepy running joke on TikTok where young men post about flying to Stockholm to find a traditional Swedish wife, treating these fair-haired women like pure aesthetic souvenirs.
Ew, that's disturbing.
In the Gatsby context, they idolize Daisy Buchanan, not for her personality, but as this idealized, delicate, pure aesthetic, which the paper argues is heavily tied to a sense of waspium, meaning white Anglo-Saxon Protestant superiority.
It's all about an exclusionary aesthetic, and that connects to the third pillar, the propagation of patriarchal gender roles.
Yes.
The study argues that the trend romanticizes Daisy Buchanan's complete financial submission to her husband. You scroll through the hashtag and you see videos of young women celebrating the idea of finding a wealthy, dominant man so they never have to work a day in their lives.
Which is wild to see today.
It is. The author suggests this normalizes female financial dependency under a glamorous, soft-focused cinematic filter, completely masking the oppressive, restrictive reality of those traditional structures.
And finally, the fourth pillar the study outlines is the degradation of others. By strictly defining who belongs in this elite old money class based on bloodlines and purity, the trend actively degrades anyone who doesn't fit that narrow mold.
Right.
The paper points to users glorifying the concept of blood money as a flex. It also highlights videos praising the architecture of old money homes, focusing on massive white pillars and sweeping porches. The author notes these are visually identical to plantation houses from the American South, romanticizing an era built on unimaginable exploitation.
That is deeply unsettling.
It is. The paper uses a concept called neo-racism to explain why this is happening now.
Can you explain neo-racism for us? Like, how does that apply to teenagers on TikTok?
Neo-racism is the idea that instead of using explicit racial categories to discriminate, people use culture, heritage, or aesthetics to organize boundaries between who is deserving and who is undeserving.
Ah, I see.
The authors argue that modern hypercapitalism creates massive economic anxiety for young people. They feel like they will never own a home or get ahead. Rather than dealing with that complex economic reality, they displace those anxieties onto cultural clashes.
It's an escape.
Exactly. They retreat into this fantasy of a rigid, Victorian-style class system where order is restored by keeping the vulgar new money out.
So what does this all mean? It's as if people on the internet are eagerly cosplaying as the villains of a Victorian novel.
That's a great way to put it.
They are idolizing a financial class that historically excluded them, a class that built its wealth by keeping people exactly like them out of the country club. And they are doing it all because the lighting in the TikTok videos looks incredibly cinematic and the linen outfits are sharp.
This raises an important question, and it's the tragic irony the researchers identify at the core of this entire phenomenon. You have working class and middle class internet users upholding and defending a discriminatory, exclusive system that actively degrades them.
It's totally backwards.
They will never be accepted into the actual old money circles because they lack the required bloodline or trust fund, but they are doing the PR work for that elite class completely for free.
Wow.
They are validating the very system that excludes them, completely distracted by the soothing allure of quiet luxury.
It is a wild paradox to wrap your head around. The actual billionaires are wiping their digital footprints to stay safe, retain control, and avoid the public eye. Meanwhile, regular people are spending their paychecks to perform a fantasy version of that same billionaire's life for views on a public app.
It's quite the contrast.
It really makes you evaluate the signals we all put out there on a daily basis. Think about your own feed or your own closet, whether it's a massive gold chain, a heavily logoed designer bag, a photo from first class, or even participating in a TikTok aesthetic that pretends you summer in the Hamptons. These choices reveal our deepest relationship with our own confidence. The audio essay we started with leaves us with a highly practical rule to navigate this. The next time you reach for something loud, something clearly designed just to be noticed by a stranger, pause and ask yourself, am I wearing this or is this wearing me?
That is a powerful diagnostic question. It forces you to examine the mechanism behind your own choices.
Yeah, it really does.
But if we take everything we've discussed today, The psychology of restraint, the data on digital erasure, and the societal desire for exclusivity to its logical conclusion, we are left with a rather unsettling thought.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we've seen that the ultra-rich are already erasing their digital footprints, attempting to vanish from public view, while the middle class performatively mimics quiet luxury online. But what happens when true status becomes completely untraceable?
Right.
If the ultimate luxury in a hyper-connected world is total invisibility, perhaps the future of extreme wealth isn't just about opting out of social media. Perhaps it is about opting out of the traditional public economy altogether.
Wait, really? Like entirely off the grid?
Imagine a near future defined by isolated, self-sustaining micro-societies of the ultra-wealthy, operating entirely off the grid. A world where money itself is no longer the primary currency, but rather absolute uncraceable anonymity is. A completely invisible elite living in a parallel society.
Oh,
That is,
God.
wow. That is something that will definitely stick with you the next time you see someone trying a little too hard to look rigid on your feed. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you for listening to Robert Judat Podcast. Subscribe to be notified of the upcoming episodes. Available on Spotify and all other major platforms.